So when we get into the marketing stuff, the first 4 things we talked about, remember, from name, from address, subject line, first couple lines of copy, that's how we get the open, but we have to be in front of people. So let's think about some other stuff that we do, with the crazy things we do inside of our emails that can get us into trouble, and a lot of it has to do with links. A lot of it. It could be the types of links that you're using. It could be the reputation of those links. It could be the number of links that you have in your email, or even the length of the links. It could be stuff like if you use a signature tool, like YStamp or something. And if you use a free signature tool, they're pretty, aren't they? They got like your headshot and your website and all your social icons and stuff. That's a lot of links, by the way. And the wrong psychology for getting somebody to do one thing.
Yep.
Okay? And then on top of that, ystamp.com is going to brand that link in every email you send, because you're probably doing it through their free account, right? Bitly. It's another example. This is an example of Bitly gone bad. This is a client that we had, actually in the lipedema space. This is somebody that you know. And there's a whole lot wrong with this picture, because there was like, this is not the heart rate thing I showed you, okay? Not. But over here, she sent out, it was only 700-800 emails over here, but you see that red line, and see this giant delivered rate of 76.43? That needs to be well over 98%. Okay, so major problem. And she was kind of doing her own thing. I wasn't doing email marketing for her, so I'm like, what is going on here? And so I zoomed in on it, and for that email send, and what happened over that couple of days, 70.45% delivered, 24.01 dropped. Dropped meaning didn't make it to the property line. We're not even talking about what folder it went into. It didn't even make it to the property. Paperboy frickin' drove by and didn't even throw the paper out, I think. Or somebody batted it away from the property. I'm not sure what happened. Right? So I look in the logs and I'm like, what is going on here? And it says the system has detected, and I'll just show you the big one. The system has detected that this message is 4.7.0 suspicious. Whew! Due to the nature of the content and or the links within. That was a Bitly link. Why she was sending Bitly, I don't know. She was sending something. It was someone else's link that she was promoting. She put it in her email. I'm like, stop. We have to stop. We can't do that anymore. No more Bitly. And I'm not saying Bitly is bad. It's a great link shortener. The problem is that link, that bit.ly, is in a ton of spam emails. And so what happens is all those spam emails go out into the ether, right? And then the link that's inside all of those emails starts to take on a bad reputation because it's guilty by association from all those emails that it's associated with. And then you take that domain and you stick it in your email, and now that domain's got a bad reputation, and now you're guilty by association. So Bitly, just Bitly, don't do that. If you're going to use a link shortener, use one that you own the domain in. So like I use Switchy. You can put your own domains in there. So any link I'm shortening has one of my domains on it. High Level has that too. Signature tools, we talked about that. I actually had a client one time who came to me and his deliverability was crazy, awful, and I'm looking and looking and looking and trying to figure out like where's the low-hanging fruit here. And I looked at his signature tool, and it was not YStamp, it was another one. It was like emailsignaturetools.com or something like that. And he was on the free plan, and as soon as we got rid of the signature tool, boom. Other people's links, beware. Right? I don't send links for other people. If I'm going to do affiliate marketing or something like that, I'm always going to make sure those suckers are branded, because I don't want to put someone I don't even know what, like, we're not going to contaminate my email with your stuff. I need to know for sure that that's not going to be a problem. And then tracking links. So when we're talking about something like High Level or Active Campaign, or if you're doing cold email, Instantly, Lemlist, something like that, there's all these tools, right? Now, if it's a tool that understands this, then they're going to give you a way to manage your own tracking link. You can set your own domain up for the tracking link. If you're using a tool where you can't manage your own tracking domain, that's not a good tool, because now you're stuck using their tracking domain, and their tracking domain is in every email that goes out, not just yours, everybody that's using the platform. And a lot of those emails don't have great practices. And so their tracking links get bad reputations. So to use High Level as an example, or any tool that does this, right? So like High Level has an API domain setting in the agency settings. If you don't set that to your own API domain, then you're using high levels API domain for tracking. And that domain gets changed every so often, as it should. High level does exactly what they need to do because they're responsible, right? So they have to change that tracking domain every so often. But what happens is that tracking domain is being used by a bunch of people who don't realize that it's in their emails, and they're sending out maybe some poor communications, and they're not getting great reputation, great open rates, great whatever. And so the tracking domain, not high level's fault, starts to take on a bad reputation. And then everybody that has that tracking domain in their email now is starting to be penalized for it. I don't want to mess with any of that in any tool I'm in. I'm going to control ask my husband, I'm a control freak. I want to control everything that I possibly can. Email deliverability is hundreds of things. Okay? My nerdy job is just to know which of those things you and I have any level of control over at all, and then help you control the stink out of them. More of the markety stuff. Text to HTML ratio. So now we're talking about the images, right? The pictures that you're putting in your email, those big fancy buttons that say buy now or whatever because it's an image. The fancy borders or the background colors that you might be putting in there. All of that kind of stuff. Non-standard fonts and colors can get you into some trouble. Think about it, like Google's the parent and they want to make sure that someone who's colorblind can still, digest the email, right? So there's lots of things you have to think about there. And then emphasis techniques besides that. So some of those might be, different styles of fonts, or it might be emojis, things like that. And again, I'm not saying you can't use emojis. I use emojis in some stuff that I send. But every once in a while, if I notice something's off, I might switch the emoji and just see if that changes things. I had a client one time that had... they worked with restaurants and they sent out those VIP offers like free chips and salsa, for like the next 2 hours or whatever. And they sent out an email that said free chips and salsa up in the subject line, and it said free in all caps, chips and salsa, and it had like the little emojis in it, like the Mexican party hat and some chips or something. I don't know what it was. I did not take the emojis out. That might have been the first thing somebody thought, like, oh, you should take those emojis out of your subject line, you get better deliverability. I left the emojis exactly as they were, and I took out the word free, which was in all caps, which is a double whammy, and in the subject line, it's a triple whammy. And I changed it to chips and salsa on us. Immediate bump. Immediate. I left the emojis. I'm like, cool, they look cool, I like them, I like chips and salsa. All right? Language, the spammy words and phrases. This is all the marketing stuff, right? Buy now, get registered today. Like there's lots of things awesome, apparently, because I like to say amazing. Amazing is a word I use in speech all the time. And I learned really quickly that amazing is a spam flag. And so, dang it. So I write my email, la, 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 it's amazing. And then I push it through my software, which I'll show you later. And it goes, oh, amazing, that's bad. You have to change that word. I'm like, shoot, okay. So spammy words and phrases are a problem. And we do this all the time as marketers because there's certain ways we say things. Click here, now, buy my awesome offer now. Like 100% free, all the stuff that we do, right? And then attention level, that's a big one. So when you're thinking about the marketing stuff, we all try to write these. I had an email that went out this morning for that video production company I told you about. And when I looked at it this morning, it was only at like a 30-something% open rate. And I'm like, dang it, what is going on? I might have been a little too markety in that one. I was in a hurry. I wrote it last night at 11:30, okay? And they have a webinar today, and I needed to get the 3-hour notice out. And I just wrote the frickin' email, and I didn't run it through my software. And so I may have caused myself a little problem there, but I did it. Attention level is a big deal. When you open your email, how much time and attention are you going to give it? Not much. We got a lot of other stuff going on, right? I'm just trying to what do I need to know? Does this pertain to me? Is this interesting to me? Is that funny? If I even open the email, it's a big deal. If I read the whole thing, it better be exceptional because nobody has time to read your email. So when you're thinking about attention level, think about this. The average reading level in the United States is 5th through 8th grade. Look at any decent newspaper. Do we still have newspapers? Wall Street Journal, maybe, something? I don't know. Washington Post? Anyway. But it's 5th through 8th grade reading level for the most part because they know that that's the average reading level in the United States, right? The average attention level is 3rd through 5th grade. 3rd through 5th grade, average attention level. So if you're writing an email, and this is what I ran into when I started working with this video production company, they work with CMOs and directors of marketing and large like multi-million-dollar revenue companies. Some of them are in the $6 million or like $100 million revenue range. And so when I came in and I started writing emails, the director of sales was like, oh, I mean, this is how I usually write the emails. I'm like, yeah, and those are your usual statistics. You hired me to get you a better result. And then he, and then I doubled down. And then
dumb it down.
Dumb it. No, well, not dumb. It's not about being dumb. It's about making sure that there's the right information in an easily digestible, concise. I do write long form emails sometimes, but I make sure the first couple lines of copy and the subject line do the heavy lifting. And then I use emphasis techniques to focus their eyes on just the things I need them to focus on to get the job done. So yes, there might be other text in there, but I'm very careful about how I do that, right? Because I know that the person on the other side is probably a lot like us, and they don't have a lot of time to put into, they're just trying to go through their freaking business email account. They don't have time to read all this stuff. They just need to know, like, brass tacks. What are we talking? And so if I want somebody to do something, I'm very careful about making sure they can see that really quickly, really easily. Preferably they have an idea of what's happening before they open the email. Not all of the idea, though, just a little bit of it, right? So attention level is a big deal. And if I'm seeing a problem with one of my emails, sometimes I'll just look at the attention level and go, okay, how can I bring this back? Maybe I sent it out at 7th or 8th grade, which I do sometimes. Maybe I need to bring it down to like 4th or 5th and just see how that one's going to perform, right? So here's an example of one of their emails. When I first started working with them, they had 2 to 4 weeks of emails that would go out. They would spend like 6 figures a month getting leads. And then they had about 2 to 4 weeks of emails that would go out. And then it just ended. And so those leads just kind of like floated off away in the sunset somewhere. And so this is one of the drip emails they had going. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can see it lit up like a Christmas tree. This is my software, okay? It lit up like a Christmas tree. I saw some things that were problematic. The score was 91. The attention level was 6.6, so it wasn't horrible, right? But there was a lot of spam flag type words going on in there. Click that button below. We here get price, ad buying, that's a fun one because I can't call it advertising buying, so I actually have to say ad buying in the email because otherwise nobody would know what I was talking about. It would just sound stupid. So there are times where I'll use a spam trigger word, but I just don't, I clean up everything else around it, right? This is the one that I actually turned it into. And you can see that I have ad buyers and ad types in there, and my grade level actually went up to 8.3 on that one. The score is 97 now. So I cleaned up some stuff. I let other stuff go because I wanted to see what I can get away with, right? And they are CMOs and directors of marketing, so they are pretty smart. And I try to keep it, kind of like spaced out and make it really easy. I put certain things in bold for a reason. I did all that stuff. Here was what the difference became. Their open rate was 36.67, and it went to 63.64. I have to tell you, sometimes I'm surprised. I'm like, dang, did that just happen? All I did, and if you read the emails, when you get these recordings, you'll see they're almost the same email. I just modified a few little things. The subject line is still exactly the same. Results are in, right? I just modified a few little things because I wanted to get an idea of like, what can I get away with this audience? How is Google, Yahoo, Outlook going to respond? I just need people opening the friggin' email. So we got a big ol' increase in open rates.